All right, guys, welcome to a new episode of Submission Radio Live. I got a big episode here. Submission Radio morning after. God, I'm stupid. I have a big episode here. I have a lot of great guests. Just quickly before I get started, I want to dedicate this episode to, of course, Duke Rufus. He passed away. It was brutal to find out. It's been really cool to see everybody's messages out there talking about the impact that he's had on their life. And the guy passed away way too young. Just absolutely brutal stuff. My thoughts go out to his family. I also want to thank everybody for joining me here today. I want to break down the show just very, very quickly. My friend Jed Meshew, I'm about to introduce him, but before I do, we've also got Ben Davis coming on at some point. We've got Oscar Willis jumping on at some point. We'll be talking about Vancouver Fight Circus, UFC 321. So please throw your questions in the comments section as we go. We'll try to get to as many as we can. We might miss out on a few, so get in early, throw in your questions. Super chats get priority, and then also members get priority. Don't forget, you become a member. It really helps out the show, so hit that membership button as well. Also, just quickly, friend of Manscaped, friends at Manscaped, sponsoring the show, White Hot Lawnmower 5.0, great in the shower. LED light, great in the water, long charge, doesn't take off your skin, just takes off the pubes it's supposed to take off. Just absolutely beautiful new design. You get 15% off with the code word submission and free shipping at Manscaped right now. That includes the boxes, that includes the bead hedge. That's
very professional.
There we go. That's how good it is. It's so close that it takes the mic out. So, we got a great super chat. So let me introduce my first guest here. You know him from MMA fighting, absolutely killing it all over the scene, BTL. I love the collabs, Morning Combat, and of course, everything else that he does. Jed Meshew, welcome to the house, my friend.
Howdy, howdy. Thanks for having me to talk about certainly the weirdest night of fights of the year, I guess. And that's not even counting the fact that we're going to be talking Fight Circus, which is almost guaranteed to be the weirdest thing. Haven't seen it, but I've seen some clips, and it looks like Fight Circus, which makes me happy.
Yeah, it's funny with Fight Circus, you tune in for it to be weird. UFC Vancouver kind of out-weirded Fight Circus. You didn't expect the craziness that ensued. By the way, speaking of Fight Circus, my next guest quickly joins me here before he starts his broadcast duties later today. He was, of course, a part of Fight Circus. And then later on, Oscar Willis is going to join us too. Ben Davis, welcome to the program. All right, Ben is here? No, why is he not popping in? Okay, we'll figure that out in a sec. I'm going to get Ben to come back into the thing. All right, so while Ben gets in there, man, I got to start right off the top. Jed, we got an excellent super chat question here from Jonah Freeman. What's worse for you, balls, Mike Malotny or those carbs that forced Jed out of MK this week?
I mean, both are pretty bad. Though I guess apparently there are people in this chat right now who believe that Kevin Holland is a pussy and was faking the whole thing despite very clearly being hurt. But I guess apparently that knee was not illegal despite it pretty obviously being legal. But if you're one of those, then the crabs that have forced me out of MK, I'm very sad to not be doing MK. I was very excited to do it. Some personal things came up. Crabs, full-blown crabs, as the wonderful Luke Thomas might say, FBC. And so I could not do the pregame preview this week, which I'm a bit bummed about.
Dude, I love your pregame previews, and I can't wait for you to come back on. I think it's going to be Chuck Mindenhall jumping in this week with those guys, so they make sure to check it out. But man, it's going to be, we'll talk about the pay-per-view on this one. There's a couple of things to discuss. Weird night in Vancouver. Let me try this again. Ben Davis, welcome to the program.
Hey, how's it going? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you doing after a crazy Fight Circus event in Las Vegas? That's a 2-day event right there, Jed. I didn't realize they were doing 2 days. It's like WrestleMania over there.
I'm jealous. I'm sad. Like, I was the Fight Circus guy. I was the person who was putting them on before anyone else, and they've thrown me aside. They don't care about my love and affection anymore. They didn't even let me know they were coming. And Ben gets to be there. He gets to hang out. Gets to call the fights. I could call fights. Me and Ben could have been in the booth, but Fight Circus doesn't love me like that anymore. And I don't know what I did to hurt you, but I'm sorry, John Nutt. I didn't mean it. Please love me again.
Is it John?
I did tell them that.
Yeah.
I had to inform them that Jed Meshew is a sexual predator and we need to keep him away at all costs. And unfortunately, that might have led to some
only
bad
a predator for you, Ben.
This
Everybody else will be fine.
Keeps telling everyone you're a sexual predator, and then Ben gets the gigs.
It's how I do it. It's how I keep doing it.
Wouldn't they want a sexual predator there, though, Ben? I don't know. Anyway.
Kind of fits in the vibe, frankly.
It's Vegas, right? Like if I was a gambling man, which I'm not, if I was, I would bet that like in every 100-foot vicinity in Las Vegas, there's at least one. No, it was good. You know, it was an interesting evening translating the Phuket craziness to Nevada was odd, right? And night one didn't work. You're going to hear about that. Night one was terrible. And night two was very good. We fixed like 85% of the problems from night to night, which was great. And I wish that night two was what everybody saw, but unfortunately they all came to night one.
Night one is what we're definitely going to start the discussion with. Everybody out there, have a look at this. Oscar Willis obviously doing his beer boxing, and then some craziness ensued. Have a look at this. He got the trip. He's on the ground here. And for those that missed it, by the way, Oscar was doing a great job.
Wow, Oscar really on one.
Look at this. From the broadcast, did you see that chick's face behind you, Ben? She's like, what the hell's going on? Here he comes. Look at him. Walking down to the ring like a young Chris Jericho. I love how you have the turtle. Is this your idea, Ben? The turtleneck?
The sleeveless turtleneck is such a vibe.
What is happening here? You're going for the legs. The takedown defense is too strong, like Uncle Ivan Pereira won over here. And then, okay, hold on. I'm just going to stop.
Siamese boxing, baby.
So Ben, this is great stuff, man. This is great stuff. Obviously, you came in to help your friend Oscar Willis here. Talk us through, me and Jed. What was going on in that ring before I go into the Siamese boxing? Between you, his competitor, as you were running in there, what was going on in your mind? What was happening?
I wish you had pulled up the most recent Insta post, which had night two's in-ring clash, because that features a Goldberg spear onto David, who's Mark Irwin's partner in there, and I land a big old elbow on him. But no, it was chaos, right? We wanted to start the Siamese segment with some chaos. They'd done 2 rounds of beer boxing. First, Mark's coach, King David, intervenes, and the ringmaster brings David in. Oscar needs a partner. Who better than his BKFC competitor? That was his play-by-play all night long. So it was fun to commentate my way to the ring. I thought that was stupid. That was a goofy little bit, but this was stupid. Thank you. I agree. That's the point, and we had a lot of fun. My jaw hurts because Mark did punch me, and now we're here in Porterville, California.
Is this the one you're talking about right here? This is the one that you wanted me to bring up right here. Is this it?
That one's better. Yep.
Okay, so here you are here. Boom. Is that the spear? Was that the spear right there?
Dang.
Oh my God. Oscar taking this guy out. There you are there. Oscar with the beer. Is this night 2 or this is still night 1?
No, that's night 2.
Oh wow. So wait, so night 2 things continued to go off.
I mean, we ran the same show. We have to, it's the same show.
I thought you were doing, I gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So night 2 things got a little better. What is it about you and Oscar that makes such a good Siamese boxing team, by the way? And let me just bring up a little bit of footage of that. As I'm looking around, you and Oscar, you guys are an absolutely electrifying team.
We've got so much history. We've got so much history with each other that, we know how we fight. Therefore, we can team up very effectively. And he's such a funny guy. He's like the most hilarious dude in the business. Who better to partner up with, right?
Yeah, it's been almost a year since you're fighting BKFC, or just over a year since you're fighting BKFC. And then here you guys go. This is for the people that missed it. So he gets into the ring, turtleneck. I like the energy, by the way, here, Ben. Night 1. Look at this energy. It's all that. Look at that. And here you go. You're putting on. Oh, by the way, Oscar Willis with the beer. Very good. He'll be on later to break his down. And look at that. There's the Siamese shirt. And we're about to get into the action. And here, what is the game plan here, Ben? Are you guys trying to take their dick out, or what's the deal? Is it low blow only? What's the?
Well, we went for a TK low, right, with a lot of dick striking, and it worked. You know, it was a coordinated effort, and even Mark got involved on the dick punching on his partner David. So, you know, I think that was a strategy. You have to listen when you're doing Siamese boxing. You have to think a little bit outside the box, right? And apparently in combat sports these days, hitting the dick has no consequences. So it only made sense that we made that our only attack.
Jed, what was your reaction to some of this footage?
It's Fight Circus being Fight Circus. There's a reason we love them. Mostly my reaction is to Ben, because one of the things that I love the most about Fight Circus is, for as silly and nonsensical as it is, and I love that part about it, you know, they call balls and strikes on themselves. Ben was out here was just like, yeah, that one kind of sucked. And that's pretty awesome, because you don't hear that ever from anybody really in any sort of forward-facing industry like this. So that's just, I love it. I love the moxie. I wish I had gone. One of these days I will attend a Fight Circus event, though I hope to do it in Phuket, even though Vegas would still be fun. I want to do it in, you know, in the place that really works. But I look forward to seeing the full thing, should it ever come out on video.
Yeah, is it coming out yet? I mean, is it ever coming out, Ben? Okay.
In like 6 months they will. They used to put it live, and I don't know if they don't want to work with Cam Soda, the porn streaming service. Put that bitch on OnlyFans. I would give you $5 to watch the live stream on OnlyFans.
I do think that what we recorded is going to come out. I think that they will distribute the Vegas show, and there will be more Fight Circus in the States. This is not a one and done. That might be an exclusive to Submission Radio, but I think Fight Circus is here to stay within the domestic borders of America.
By the way, why are you chugging honey? Is it because you got a broadcasting gig after this, Ben?
Yeah. My throat's fucked. So it's going to
give us another look. How do you do it? How do you chug the honey? Oh, baby, look at that.
Oh, he's got the bear too. You love the honey bear. That's just how it runs.
Let's do that.
All right, guys. Fight Circus is going to be in the States. I mean, you don't. It's a copycat league. You don't want to do an event at the White House, but like, what about the Lincoln Memorial Fight Circus? Something like that, you know? Mount Rushmore in the background of Fight Circus.
Let's do it in Harlem. You know, let's do it in Detroit. I think Fight Circus in Detroit, Michigan makes a lot of sense. Or Flint, even better.
Flint actually makes way more sense.
Can you imagine? All right. I love it. All right. So Fight Circus, Oscar will be on a little bit later. We'll break it down a little more, but let's get back to UFC Vancouver, because Ben, and by the way, thanks for sticking around with us. Ben's going to be here for another 10 minutes. So then he's going to go start commentating, but we were just touching on the ball shot that brought down Kevin Lee, not Kevin Lee, sorry, Kevin Holland. We'll get into that in just a second, but I want to get into the main event first, because MMA Junkie put out this graphic just before. This is one of RdR's coaches explaining his decision to throw in the towel. I made the call to stop the fight after the 4th round. I take full responsibility for that decision. It was the right call to make for me in that moment. If I didn't do anything, he would have continued the fight rather than risk unnecessary damage. I decided to call it a day and go home as healthy as possible. Live to fight another day. Jed Meshew. I was a big fan of this call. What did you think about the coach realizing in that moment, hey, things are only going to get worse here for RdR. Let's call it and let's regroup for another one.
It was absolutely the right call. I mean, like, arguably he shouldn't have even been in a position to make the call, because I think Herzog was the ref in the main event. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but whoever the ref was like, RdR, if you don't physically get up, I'm going to stop this fight, because he just couldn't even pull himself off the canvas. So the fact that, you know, that fight probably could have even been stopped, but it 100% should not have gone to the 5th round. I'm glad RdR's coaches are smart. And like, that's it. You know, I don't know why he felt compelled to issue a statement about it, but I'm not unhappy that he did, because there hasn't been a big amount of pushback. There are some people who are calling RdR a quitter. Okay. You know, people are going to be that way, but this is the right outcome. he was not winning that fight, and he was only going to suffer, bodily harm to go back out there and keep doing it. So well done in the corner. And because there was so minimal pushback, mostly people seem to agree, yeah, that was the right decision. I always just hope that this will be the one that gets people to start doing this more, because it should be a far more frequent occurrence in MMA than it is.
Ben, it's interesting because RdR copping a lot of heat for this fight, not looking himself. But I feel like the coach doing this he's trying to take a little heat off RdR here, right? I see people calling him Renier de Quitter and all this kind of stuff. Trying to take
objectively, good name. Subjectively good.
It's a funny name, but it is frustrating to see that the mockery is what takes center stage over a very good decision, right? I agree with Jed. I think that this does need to happen more frequently, especially in fights where it is over, right? And the fighter's too tough for his own good. And while the corner is taking it on the chin and accepting the full accountability and saying no excuses, I feel like it's pretty valid to bring up that this was his 5th fight in 12 months, 13 months, 5th weight cut, so depleting your body on that frequency is going to lead to nights where you look completely off. And, I don't know if that's, I guess it remains to be seen in RdR's next outing, if this was a product of his frequency or Allan was just that good on the night and had all of the answers to the questions that RdR was trying to present to him. I don't know. It's a feel-good moment for Allan. And I know he was catching a lot of flack during fight week for saying, I'm not impressed by him and all this. And I was seeing the temperature. RdR is going to humble him. And, that didn't happen. So unexpected upset. And, it makes me think Robert Whittaker died for nothing at this point, and that's really the shame of this.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation. I put up a tweet about how RdR fighting 4 times and cutting that much weight is brutal, and then Jed corrected me and is like, nah, dude, it's more like 5 times. So this is a guy cutting weight. For those that don't realize, I think from over 220, he's 6'4", cutting weight that many times. We've seen how bad
it's well over 220. He posted a video this week where he was at like 230, like
230, and then
posted a video like either at the beginning of last week or this week. It was like him at 230. It's a huge cut for him.
And by the way, have a look at this video of him cutting weight. It's absolutely brutal. Like, this is a guy that's really cutting down to be in the division. He's more of a light heavyweight. I mean, this is his decision, and I don't want to take any of the credit away from Brendan Allan. We're going to talk about him in just a second, but this was his decision. Jed, he took a gamble, right? And it didn't pay off. There was a lot to win from this gamble. Well, not as much after Fluffy fell out, but thank God he did, because that would have been an even rougher night at the office for him. But there's also a little bit to lose here for RdR, right? I feel like some of the fans have sort of jumped off the RdR train. And at the end of the day, RdR is the one who made the decision to take this chance.
Yeah, I mean, he lost a lot last night. People who very quickly got on the RdR train. So we're clear, I've been on this train for well before his UFC run, and I'm not leaving it. He's an adorable fighter. But the people who very quickly got on it they jump ship real fast. And outside of that, like, this did hurt his title chances. Like, it's probably unlikely he fights for a middleweight belt at this point in time now, because it's a pretty tough setback in a division with a lot of people scrapping at the top to get their opportunities. So he lost a lot. He really wasn't gaining much, frankly, because Fluffy fell out. And once that happened, he probably wasn't fighting. Though I maintain that if he had really impressed, if he had finished a choke in the first round, he actually might have been the dude that was fighting Khamzat Chimaev. I still sort of believe that. But what you said is right, D. It's like, he fought. And as I sort of come to this all the time, like, fighters fight compromised all the time. I do believe that the best explanation for why he gassed so bad is that it was his 5th weight cut in less than 365 days. And that his body, at some point, your body just is like, nah, bro, can't do it. And so I believe that's what happened, but that has no bearing on the outcome of the fight. He walked into the cage the same as Alex Pereira chose to fight Magman Ankalaev with whatever the hell was going on. And he lost the fight. If you agree to the terms and fist fight, that's on you. shit, Kevin Holland agreed to keep fighting and lost that fight. That's on him in a lot of respects. So all you can do is tip your hat to Brendan Allan, who looked great. And maybe he would have done that to the best version of RdR too. We'll never know. And it doesn't matter because the scoreboard is the scoreboard.
Now, Ben has to get going to his broadcasting duties, but I've got a special crossover here. Look at this. Oscar Willis is in the house, taking us through a tour of his house.
Boys. Yeah.
No, it's all good. Hey, Oscar, while you set up, Ben has to get going in just a second. What is your message to you guys? Are one of the best tag teams out there in the sport right now. You guys were able to dominate. Me and Jed were marveling at your footage earlier from Fight Circus. For those that missed it, there's a lot of action here. Look at that. What is your message to Ben as he's about to go off? The guy can barely speak. He's about to commentate some of the show, but of course he's also got those wounds from the wars you guys have just had.
Well, actually, funny enough, I am actually a bit banged up. But I gave Ben his flowers last night when we were drunk at the bar. I was like, "You're gonna be so good, man. You're so talented." So he already knows that I think he's great. And I appreciate him stepping in to save me in a Siamese beer boxing 2-on-1.
I did, Oscar. I did let him know that night 1 was terrible and night 2 was a billion times better.
Okay.
Night one sucked fucking ass. To be honest.
There's night 2 there.
Yeah.
There's night 2 there.
Yeah.
Dude, I know what I love about this is, you guys had that fight about a year ago, just over a year ago. And then most of the time we've seen in this sport, people get a bit upset at each other. And, there's, I think, but you guys have come together and you've been able to have this awesome event. So Ben, congratulations, dude. I'll let you go. I know you're guzzling honey here, so I want you to have some voice for your gig, but congratulations, dude.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Make sure you pay the hooker twice when she leaves that hotel room.
She's not getting paid at all.
There he is. Oscar, if you're cool, man, is there a chance you could turn your camera around? We are talking about RdR and what we saw over the weekend.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better. We're talking about RdR and what we saw over the weekend. Man, Jed just broke down. He took a big chance on himself. It didn't quite pan out. The first round, though, RdR still had a little bit of gas left in the tank against Allan, almost locked in that choke. What did you make of the fact that Allan was able to turn things around like that on a depleted RdR and get through to get this victory?
I thought that, I thought that it was just the strength difference was so noticeable. RdR seemed a lot stronger and bigger than Allan, and in that first round, sort of was able to control him much easier. So when Allan was able to turn it around and RdR's kind of a spaz, right? So I feel like a lot of his fights can look like he's not doing very well until he wins, in that sort of Homer Simpson way. So after round 2, I was like, okay. But then it just continued that way, right? RdR was not able to sort of do anything to reverse it back in his favor. And I think, I think he said on Twitter he had neurovirus. So I would say that looks about right. He looked like he didn't have much to give. He looked like he wanted out of there, really. So my takeaway was, unfortunately for Allan, more about how poor RdR looks rather than how amazing Allan looked. But Allan did a job and took it on short notice and all the rest of it. So fair play to him. I don't think people were looking at him as a contender necessarily in that division. So for him to take this chance and get the result that he got to push himself into that conversation is pretty much the best case scenario for him.
So, Jed, what do we do next for Brendan Allan? He was able to go out there, I think it was 3 weeks or so, 2.5 weeks, got ready, got in there, picked up this win. This is the division right here for everybody at home. It's actually a pretty interesting division. I did a quick reaction video where I was like, well, this guy could fight this guy, and that guy could fight this guy. So we got Izzy, he's in the division. We got Kaya, he's in the division. For Brendan Allan, it's like Robert Whittaker and Feb and Sydney could potentially be something. Kaya could be something. Maybe. I mean, he would love to fight Israel. I don't know if that's quite the fight, but that would be something. Just a ton of fights there. Jed, what do you think could be a good fight for Brendan Allan next?
I talked about this in our post show last night. I think the best fight is the one that is achievable is Sean Strickland.
Sean Strickland for Allan next.
But mainly, I think Brendan Allen's just in a position where the UFC just going to kind of throw a dart, whatever works. in a timeline. Like they don't necessarily have I wouldn't imagine are trying to build him to title contention. And so like Kyle Bahalio's fine. Robert Whittaker's fine. Israel Adesanya would be fine. Which of those opponents would accept a fight with him, and sort of how did the timeline shake out? I think is going to be a lot more meaningful to who he gets booked against, as opposed to being like, we're trying to put him in a title eliminator, because he's lost to Nasruddin Imavov and he, lost to Fluffy. And I know he very incorrectly believes that he was close to winning both of those fights, but most people don't see that. So I still think even with this great win of like, he's pretty outside of the immediate title conversation. And so throw a dart at any of those dudes in the top 8 and it's not a bad matchup for him.
It's funny because on the broadcast, they kept saying, well, he won in the first round against Imavov. He won the first round. I love how the broadcasts work.
RdR won the first round too. How'd that work out for him?
Sometimes they'll show the highlight of a guy before he gets like knocked out or like loses to someone leading into their fight that night because they don't have enough highlights. Oh, wow, he did really well against him. All right, Oscar, what about you with RdR? Interesting lineup here. We got Paulo Costa. They got some beef there. Way down in the rankings, of course. Then there's this fight that Jed's been absolutely dreaming of, which is Dricus du Plessis. Obviously, RdR losing a lot of steam here, and Dricus is ranked number 1. But at the same time, it's a good bounce back fight for DDP to see where he's at. And then also, I mean, Kaya Bahia is a guy that's been talking a lot of shit about RdR too. He's coming up a bit of a weird kind of fight against Imavov where he cut weight before. It wasn't quite himself. Both guys not really showing the best version of themselves in the last fight. Is there any of those fights stand out to you as a potential good fight for RdR next?
Middleweight's a funny division, right? Because you would like Imavov is the one who's had the most success and seems like the highest ranked in order to get a title contender. But I think, being fair, I don't necessarily feel like the fans are necessarily clamoring for an Imavov fight. And so you have these names in the division like Izzy, Strickland, Costa, and DDP that are there, and it's like those are the matchups people want to see. But it's like, does Izzy want to fight contenders or does he want to fight fun fights? Does Sean still want to fight his way back to the title, or does he just want to pick his way to a Hamzat fight? There's these guys who are there that are great names for people to fight against, like RdR. But it's like, what do they want at this stage of their career? Whitaker as well. I feel like RdR DDP is a great fight. That makes a lot of sense now, actually. Both off a loss. I know RdR lost quite badly. I don't necessarily know if he lost a lot of steam, because I still think his fighting style is kind of strange and weird, and people are still interested in that. And a fight with DDP, it's like going to be watching Beyblades fight. It's just kind of DDP shit. So I feel like that one, if either one wins that, they're right back there. So that makes sense.
Well, it's an interesting one because Robert Whittaker, he wants that fight in February, and he told me he wants Hernandez. So that's like, ooh, hitter after hitter for Robert Whittaker. But I wouldn't have anything.
I think it's really smart from Robert Whittaker, frankly. That's how you get back in the mix if you're Bob.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess he's looking at that list. He told me he didn't want MVP. He's like, he's hard to fight. I don't really want to fight him. Yeah. I thought that could have been a good fight for him. I want to see Rob have some easy fights. So then what are we doing with Sean Strickland, Jed?
I mix and match however you want. Like, to me, I thought Strickland and Izzy made all the sense in the world, but they both seem that that's not happening. Strickland apparently doesn't really want it.
That fight.
He did, but then he was like, what he told you at the Perth thing, where he was like, he doesn't want to do it anymore. So I'm moving on to other business. Like, that fight made a ton of sense. I also get why Strickland wouldn't really want to do it again, but so there's just no wrong way to eat this Reese's. I have been calling for RdR versus DDP well before either of them were in the actual title mix. Like, that's the fight I most want to see in the whole of the sport. I would love them to book that, but I don't know that they're going to do it. And so, however you want to do things at 185 is cool with me. I will say, I thought about this last night and I can't get away from it, Dennis. Mm-hmm. You mentioned RdR is a big fella. He was a 2-division champion. Maybe we just abandon middleweight. This was the loss. We go up. And I can't help but think I'd have a lot of fun watching RdR fight Dominic Reyes at light heavyweight. That seems like a fight that would be very, very weird in an enjoyable manner.
He just gets hit a lot, does RdR, and I feel like at 205, those guys will fucking hurt him, you know? But yes, I don't mind. But also 205 is like Pereira needs guys, you know? If he's going to stick around, Pereira needs guys. So
But
you can
it's much
shoot.
worse. But Reyes could kill him, or Reyes might just sort of fall apart because sometimes it would be a real weird fight, and I kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think RdR still has a route to the pot title at middleweight, but he certainly has a quicker one at 205.
Dude, I'll tell you, Reyes should stop fighting. I love the guy, but he needs to stop fighting.
Unless he fights RdR, that's
He's gotta
really
stop.
winnable.
You know how they threw the towel in for RdR over the weekend and we're like, hey, this is a good, don't take the addition. Dominic Reyes the damage that guy's taken over those last few fights.
Yeah.
Just go out while you can still walk down the street with your family, man. Like,
Yeah, but then
can't-
at least if against RdR, he's not going to get brutally knocked out. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, true. Well, yeah, the UFC with their matchups for Dirty Dom. Anyway, what about the craziness that transpired, fellas, in Vancouver? It was absolutely insane. Carl Nelson versus Matt Favola. Big Dan making a terrible decision here. Oscar, I know you were doing Fight Circus, but did you get a chance to go back and have a look at the stupidity and the craziness that happened with Dan's decision? It was almost as bad as the Perth fight, right? Where it just kept on going and the referee just decided to keep it going, even though he stopped it in the first round. Big Dan copping a lot of criticism. Obviously, Kyle Nelson going on to still win it, but yeah, incredibly strange fight.
Yeah, from what I saw, and again, I was at the circus. It was like he stopped the fight, but didn't stop the fight, right? So it sort of separated them on the ground, and then the round ended. So he kind of stopped a TKO from happening. Is that about right?
Yeah,
Right.
Jed, break it down for us. Like, for those that missed it, how would you describe what transpired, and where does it rank as one of the worst decisions by a ref? In a
Problem
while?
is, it arguably wasn't, but it was arguably better than what he did in the co-main event, which was a total travesty. So it was very akin to whatever happened with Jake Matthews not that long ago, where like Nelson was on top, he was putting in some ground and pound, the clapper went off, and Tan Dan's sitting there, and he doesn't react to the clapper going off, so he didn't confuse the clapper for the thing, but with like 3 or 4 seconds left, he jumps in and stops the fight. Kyle Nelson believes he's won because Dan Miragliotta stopped the fight, and then the bell goes off. He just thought he heard the bell when he didn't, and so the fight then resumed after everyone thought it was so bad that they had cut.
I thought
to
it was
commercial.
over. Yeah,
They did all right, we're going to cut to commercial. But then in the process of doing that, they were like, actually, wait, no, what the hell's going on? It was total clusterfuck and horrifically managed. Fortunately, the guy who should have gotten the TKO win won anyway.
Yeah, it was brutal scene. It was one of the worst. What do you think the co-main event was worse though, Jed?
Because the co-main event was 6 really bad fuck ups. Like it was a lot. Like that was one bad fuck up, and it was worse than any of the fuck ups in the co-main. But the co-main was mishandled almost every step of the way. The most egregious being, and I don't want to spend an hour ranting about this, so I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. The most egregious is that he didn't take a point from Mike Malott for the second low blow, right? Because if you read the ruling, the wording on the rules, you don't take a point because the foul is intentional or not. You take a point if the non-offending fighter has been significantly impacted. Very clearly, Kevin Holland was significantly impacted, so to not take a point there is absolute nonsense. Then the actual just nuts and bolts of how he managed it was improper. Like he gave Kevin Holland well over the 5 minutes. Like they got to the 5 minute mark. Kevin Holland clearly wasn't ready to go. He probably should have not allowed Kevin Holland to fight anyway, because Kevin Holland didn't want to and was compromised. But then he just sort of hemmed and hawed and gave Kevin Holland an additional 30 seconds, which is also like, had Mike Malott lost the fight, he could justifiably be upset that he got fucked over in the rules. And then we go to after that round is over, we do the break. He calls in a doctor. I think he was hoping the doctor would play the game and buy Kevin Holland a little more time. But the doctor was just like, dude, if he says he needs to say right now that he can fight or the fight's over. And so it just became this massive clusterfuck where Kevin Holland got an additional like 4 minutes to recover, which he shouldn't have been afforded per how the rules are set up. So he botched it. He botched every single part of it. And to fuck something up four different times is probably worse than like one mistake, even if that mistake individually is much bigger.
Yeah,
What's funny is like in that situation, the referee doesn't. I would imagine. I don't know, but I feel like sometimes they don't want to be the bad guy, right? They don't want to wave the fight off because Kevin's kind of like not looking like he wants to fight, and then after the fact get criticized, like, oh, you waved the fight off when Kevin could have fought on. But you're getting criticized anyway, so you may as well be the bad guy, but protecting the fighter rather than being the bad guy and not. You know.
But I don't, Oscar, I don't know if you like actually saw this or not, because obviously you were very busy this weekend. Pretty clearly, Kevin Holland was looking to him for some help because Kevin didn't want to be like, hey, I don't want to fight, because we like look at the fucking comments about RdR, who didn't even quit. His corner threw in the towel and people are ripping him. He didn't want to be like hey, I can't go. But every time Dan Miragliotta was like, can you fight? His response was not yes or no. It was my balls hurt. And Dan Miragliotta just wouldn't. He was asking for help, and Dan was not willing to do anything. He didn't want to make a choice. Dan Miragliotta did not want to make any decision at all. And so he made a lot of really bad ones.
When I had it on my laptop as I was like getting ready to do commentary, and every time I looked back at the screen, I was like, "Is Kevin Holland holding his dick again? Like, how many fucking times has he gotten kicked in the nuts?" But even I, from like my very casual watch of it, you know, it's one of those ones. Do you want to continue? And they're not saying no, but they're also not saying yes, and that's usually a read of like, bro, they want out, but they don't want to be a quitter. Help them out, you know.
Yeah, Kevin Holland threatened to shoot Rampage Jackson, so he's not going to quit in an octagon over a dick shot. But it is the referee's job to ensure that people's safety is being upheld. And Jed, that's a great point you made. Just quickly before we get off Vancouver, what about Ayman Zahabi? This guy, 37 years old, is on the streak of a lifetime. He was able to get a splitty over Marlon Vera. That means that he is now in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak. He's 37 years old. Oscar, what do you think of the position that he's in right now in the division? It's kind of like he's really building a whole thing here at this part of his career, the later part of his career.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like, you know, there are sometimes like it just kind of clicks for a guy, and then they go from being like, sort of, without being mean, a generic fighter to like a name that's like, oh, that person's on this card. I recognize that name. I felt like the Aldo fight did that really well for Zahabi. Like then you know, it's like really pushed him up. Cheeto's another great name to have on your resume. Whether or not Cheeto's in the prime of his life right now is obviously a different conversation. But yeah, it's a fucking crazy division. Probably I think the most talent deep division. So to get 7 on the bounce is pretty spectacular, and I imagine he will now get a really top name that could, I'd see him getting into like title conversation.
Yeah, and I guess that this whole Canadian thing doesn't hurt either, Jed, right? They go to Canada, they got a guy there that can match up with a big name. What would you do, Nick? Did you have him winning that fight, by the way? And what would you do next with him?
I scored the fight for him. I think if you scored it for Cheeto, that's fine. It's the first round's a swing round. It wouldn't be wrong. But I scored the fight for him because Cheeto didn't do anything for a lot of the fight. It was a Cheeto fight. Sometimes like classic. When he did stuff, he clearly was winning the fight, and then he just didn't do stuff for like 12 minutes of the fight. So I don't know what you do with Ayman Zahabi. I don't think he's good, and I don't think I'll ever think he's good. He keeps winning fights, and credit to him. He keeps winning fights, and it's a miracle. I don't understand how he's doing it. Other than just like sheer willpower, which is dope. Good for him to just will himself to like victory over good names. But like,
yeah, but he beat Aldo, so fuck him.
He did beat Aldo,
and caused the retirement. It's all his fault.
It's not his fault. That fight should have just never been booked. But you know, that's his like best that performance much better than this one. Much better than this one. And so I don't
look at the names there. You got you know, maybe Corey. Maybe, Figgy. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the
He
main
called
event.
for Sean O'Malley, and Sean O'Malley literally laughed at him because obviously that's ridiculous. I think like if I'm booking, just give him Davison Figueiredo. It's another old dude that with a big name that maybe he can continue this really improbable run. But like it's hard for me to book him because I don't need to see him fight Marab. That would be a waste of everyone's time. So like I'm not trying to move him up the ladder. So yeah, Davison Figueiredo.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy. He's on this legend killer run, but he's 37 himself. So I don't know how much longer he's got, but he's able to do it. So good on him. Hey, just quickly, Oscar, I know you're a bit bugging, man. So I want to talk about Fight Circus before I let you go, dude, because it's been a crazy weekend. Ben kind of touched on it just quickly, but how are you feeling after this craziness that you guys have put on? You said you're a little banged up. What are some of the highlights? What are a couple of things that are happening behind the scenes that you can share with us from the crazy weekend that you guys had?
Yeah, so I didn't want to say it while he was on here, but I am actually more banged up than I was after the BKFC fight with Ben.
Yeah.
But like I just noticed while we're on the call, like I've got a huge bruise on my knuckle, and this was not even a hand I was meant to be punching with, so clearly it got a bit out of hand. Yeah, he obviously touched it. I don't want to repeat everything he said, but I didn't get to see it. But yeah, the first night was, I think, fair to say, a bit of a disaster. Like the show ran really long. 2 minutes before I walked out, they came and so like you got to sprint to the ring, and we got to get these final two segments done in 5 minutes. And it's like that's a 20-minute segment, so we kind of like condensed everything, missed all our spots, and it just kind of ended with a bit of a whimper. And then last night just couldn't have gone any better. I haven't watched my match yet. But I've like got a bloody nose and stuff, so it's not completely a work. There were some real punches thrown in there.
Yeah, it's harder to actually do a work than a real fight, I feel sometimes, because guys don't know what to do. And then
it was the
it's
first
not like they're
work
workers.
it's the first work I've ever done, and I think like watching some of the other matches. So I don't know. Did Ben tell you about the commission and everything showing up?
No, he didn't say anything. What happened?
So Friday, the head of the Nevada State Commission showed up because it was advertised as fights, like Fight Circus, So he showed up and was like, "Fuck, there better not be any strikes thrown today." So that's like right before the show started. He was like, "You guys aren't gonna throw any strikes." So then we sort of negotiated that, like, look, it's like this is more pro wrestling-y, like calm down. And so he stayed and watched, which meant the performers had to overcorrect. Like they weren't just not hitting each other; they were like very visibly trying not to hit each other, which obviously made the product complete shit. But there was a very funny moment. I have a photo of him, of the head of the commission, sitting there with his head in his hands, watching three men dressed as cows fighting a guy dressed as a farmer. And he clearly looked like he was having the worst night of his life. But then they didn't come last night, which meant people were able to safely up the tempo and up the intensity, and then therefore actually have a good product. So I think their hands were a little tied the first night, which was unfortunate. But last night was much better.
Yeah, man, there's some crazy stuff that went down. Me and Jed were able to review it with Ben, but what was it like actually doing the whole beer boxing thing? Because that just does not look as comfortable as you might think. So you got to hold the beer, you got to punch, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
You got to drink. Like, that's a lot of shit that you got to do at the same time while thinking about, what's going to happen.
And also doing commentary right until the moment I had to walk out. So I wasn't even like I was able to warm up or anything. I will be candid with you though, Dennis. I was absolutely hammered before I got in the ring.
I can't believe that at all.
I had like 15 beers before. So this is not the most professional thing in the world. I don't really remember what it was like, to be honest. So I just remember walking out, kissing Brett Okamoto on my walk out. That was very important to me.
Brett was there? Awesome.
Yeah, I got Brett. I was like, come walk out with me. And then
nice.
Yeah, and then it just like evolved into this crazy brawl. No one ignored. There was never discussion of a takedown, but Ben just came in and shot the meanest double leg you've ever seen out of fucking nowhere. And then I full on booted Ben in the side of the head, which I am sorry for. I just ran over and kicked him in the head.
When he got in the ring, his energy was so wild. I could see you being like, all right, Ben, let's calm down a little. Like, he went right at you. I'm like, you gotta have Oscar just running at him.
Yeah. He chest bumped me. I was like, what are you doing? And then he like just, it was great. But that's kind of what it needed, I think. Like it's the Fight Circus thing, and then all the crowd like left their seats and came and stood by the ring. So it
Oh,
was like a
cool.
real like kind of the host, the on-camera host, and I believe one of the owners, John Nutt. He's like the character, the circus leader guy.
He's the
He describes
ringmaster.
it as yeah, the ringmaster. Thank you. He describes it as punk rock, and I think that's the right way to describe it. It's meant to be wacky. It's meant to be chaotic. The fucking ring broke. Like loads of crazy shit just kept happening, and I think that was part of like the energy you
Yeah.
need to produce.
How was the opponent? Was he all right? The BKFC guy or whatever, the one that you had to initially box?
He was very cool guy, Mark Owen.
Chill. It was a chill dude. Went with the work. All
Very,
good.
very, very cool dude. But then, like on Saturday, he was like, "Yeah, so I think like today we're gonna have to like up the physicality." And I was like, obviously very hungover from Friday, so I was like, "Well, how much?" He's like, "Yeah, no, we should go for it." I was like, "But I don't want to do that. Like, I've not been training. I'm out of shape.
I don't want to
haven't
do
spa-
that.
I haven't sparred, so I don't want to get fucking hit in the head today." And he was like, "Okay, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out." And then I saw him getting his hand wrapped, and I was like, "How fucking hard are you actually gonna hit me, bro?" But no, he was very, very cool. Great guy to work with. Really like excited about it. You could tell he was really passionate about it. And like was great to like accepted all my ideas and stuff. And yeah, didn't actually fuck me up either.
Oh, dude.
That was nice.
Awesome. Awesome. And is it going to come out soon? Me and Jed were wondering, when's it coming out?
Yeah, so I text them. They're gonna send me the footage, and I will put it out. I think.
Oh, on the Mac Life?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Sick.
I'll put out the whole me to the Siamese
I
boxing.
love that.
It's also
Yeah.
like, they gave me a live mic after 15 beers. I was pretty abusive to a lot of people in the crowd.
I can't believe that.
I
That
was
doesn't
like,
track with what I know about you.
And by the way, Gabby Garcia in the house, that
She was
Death Note
great.
dude, and Wee Man. What were some of the the cameo people or the celeb people what was the
Right.
wildest thing that you saw from them?
Right, so I thought it was Wee Man from Jackass. His name's actually Wee Matt, and he's another midget. And I didn't know that.
I
And
know.
I was like, all right, Wee Man. He went, I'm not Wee Man, I'm Wee Matt. And I went, you're Wee Man, and ignored him, didn't change. But he was cool.
But you
Gabby,
fit so
Gabby-
perfectly with Fight Circus.
Yeah. Gabby was obviously phenomenal. Death sentence. Has had a lot of Tylenol in his life. Felony Bennett is terrifying.
Yeah, what was he like, Felony? He actually knows how to do a work? He'd be going right into...
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I thought it was real, probably.
There's not a lot going on there, But he came out dressed in like a prisoner outfit with chains on and stuff, And I announced that he had DM'd every ring girl in the room, and he's broken like 6 restraining orders tonight, stuff like that. So that's good. Yeah, it was kind of just a Randy Costa was there just in a jock strap, like just walking around with his ass out. It was phenomenal, great. It's a great night out. I would say, like if you got it and it was a good show, you'd walk away being like, that was hilarious.
Dude,
Probably
I love
didn't
that.
come back.
Go have a few beers, have some fun. It's the opposite of like a boring UFC fight night card. Like you get bang for your buck, plus you get to see some people from the industry. Congratulations, Oscar. I can't wait to see it. Check out the Mac Life for the full video. Go rest up, man. You're off to UFC 321?
Flying to Dubai tomorrow, yeah. Which I'd like
Alright.
to. They
Alright,
they used to be you could fly to Dubai and like just kind of skip past customs because they like want to fucking investigate your camera and shit. But this year they've like proper clamped down on it, and they sent me an email saying if you don't go to customs we'll fine you. And I was like, I'll pay the fine. I don't want to go do admin when I land. Fuck you. So I'll just pay the fine. All right, guys.
All right, have a safe flight, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait to see the coverage. There is Oscar Willis killing it on Fight Circus. All right, a couple of questions here, Jed, before I let you go about UFC 321. Let's see here. All right, Joseph Boza. Does Cyril have a puncher's chance of winning? Tommy Aspinall has been away for a year plus due to Jones's games. And then also interesting to note that, Tom Aspinall, everyone expects him to destroy Cyril. Like no one's going, hey, Gane's going to go out there and win. And that's usually not a great spot to be in, Jed, in MMA, where everybody just expects you to destroy someone.
It's not ideal. I think that people expect it for a reason, and I suspect it will happen. I wouldn't say Cyril Gane has a chance in this fight. I would not call it a puncher's chance, because Cyril Gane is not like a one-hitter quitter. Like, how many first-round knockouts does Cyril Gane have? That's not really his game. He wants to move around, be athletic, pile up damage. He can hurt you, but it's, Tom is the guy who gets people out in 60 seconds. I think Cyril Gane has a chance to win this fight because people genuinely just underestimate, like, we don't know anything about Tom Aspinall. We know that he has some level of a grappling game and he can punch real hard. And those are the things that we know because he's never really fought past like 6 minutes or whatever the hell it is. So if Cyril can not get taken down and sort of survive the first round, maybe Tom just stone cold gasses, like a lot of things could happen. And Cyril Gane is a good fighter. I don't expect any of those things to happen. I think Tom's going to win comfortably.
It's it's an interesting card, right? Here it is. Here, there's a few.
I like it.
Bangers. We got the return of Umar. Here we've got, that fight. Will Mackenzie Dern, will she be able to realize her title potential in this rematch? Volkov and Almeida, they're trying to make something happen in the division here. What's the fight outside of the main event that you're most interested in?
I mean, the co-main event, because I have never stopped believing that Mackenzie Dern would be a champion, but that's a boring answer. I don't want to give you the co-main event as the answer. But we're talking.
You think she's going to do it? You think she's going to do it in this rematch?
I do think she's going to do it. And I don't know that she's going to hold it for any amount of time, but she'll be UFC champion. The feature bout's dope. I think the heavyweight bout is pretty interesting. I like all the main card. My actual, if I'm being honest, answer is Ludovic Klein and Tush Rebeshki will be super fun. Like, that's probably the most fun fight we're getting all weekend. That's going to be a banger. So, like, that's the one I'm the most interested in. As someone who thinks fighting should be as ridiculous as possible, as often as possible, Chris Barnett versus Hamdi Abdel-Wahab is probably going to be the worst fight you've ever seen. And I can't wait for it. It's going to be so bad, and the optics are going to be hilarious, and I can't wait to watch it.
Question from Meat Rocket. Do you think if Cyril takes the fight into the later rounds, Tom may get exposed as a one-round fighter? My question, that's a good question for Meat Rocket, but also, if Cyril can survive this, Jed, and kind of make it a bit of a fight, do you think that's a win for him if he can show us some kind of improvement and actually make this a bit of a back and forth battle for some kind of part of this, rather than just going out and getting submitted like in that John Jones fight that he had?
Yes, because I mean, Cyril, despite the fact that he is about to fight for a world title, the stock has never been lower than it is on Cyril Gane.
Never. Even when he first came into the sport and basically did nothing, he had way higher hype and excitement.
Way higher because, he's athletic and fun. And ahead of the John fight, it was like, maybe he can trouble John. And then his performance was so bad in the John fight. And then his follow-up performance, he shouldn't have won the fight and was also terrible. Like, he is at rock bottom. Or if you are buying Cyril Gane stock, now is the time to buy. You're never getting it cheaper. So like, even a competitive loss would help him get, something back, because he probably doesn't really deserve to have as much hate as he has on. Like, it's not his fault that the judges gave him the win over Volkov, right? Like, he didn't fight very well, but he got the W. And, he's shown heart, he's shown grit. Tai Tuivasa almost killed him and he came back and won that fight. So like, even a competitive loss would be good for him. A win would obviously be incredible for him, and deeply funny. I think we can all admit it'd be really funny if he won this fight. But yeah, he needs to not get tackled and tapped in 5 minutes or less. I don't know how people could be less in on him, but if that happens, man, he is going to catch hell for it.
Yeah, game going. You're going to look silly when Gane wins. I'll tell you what's going to look silly: the heavyweight division. Can you imagine the heavyweight division if Gane
really
wins?
If he wins,
what even happens? John Jones just returns the next day and is ready to go against Gane.
No, if it's
Alex Pereira just gets an automatic title
Pereira
shot.
fight. They won't even pretend to do anything else.
They're just going to say, we don't even have a champion. We're just getting rid of the belt altogether.
I don't think he's going to win. It would be the only reason that I have any emotional investment in this fight at all is I just desperately want John Jones to shut the fuck up. And if Gane wins, he'll just have the most smug, awful tweets you've ever seen. And I just don't want to have to deal with that. So I hope Tom wins so John can just be silent, because the world is a better place when John Jones isn't tweeting.
We got Zero saying, I'm not sold on Tom. He has power, but hasn't run into a well-rounded fighter yet. I guess the thing is, Gane's not really the fighter that is really going to display that, right?
Yeah, the issue, like, I don't think
not-
any person like, it's not impossible that Tom could just knock out Gane. Like, that's very in play. Tom hits real hard. Tom isn't winning this fight because of his power. He's just going to tackle him and submit him because he is a good grappler and can do that. So, like, Gane being a well-rounded fighter is questionable. My biggest concern for Gane is, like, basically the reason he has had success is he is just more athletic than everybody he's fought. And that's not the case with Tom. And so, like, a little bit like hey, Dricus just sort of beast moded everybody he fought. And then he fought Hamzat, who was better in his strength and a better positional grappler. And so it was just awful. I kind of think that's what's about to happen. Is Gane can't even run away from Tom the way he can move away from, like, lumbering Tai Tuivasa, because Tom is quick and fast and athletic.
Yeah, you know what's crazy for Gane as well? Hasn't really been in the game that long, but he's already had so many opportunities at the title. Obviously, there was the Francis Ngannou, there was the John Jones fight, and then it's very rare for a fighter to get a title shot and to be on the big stage. This guy's getting another crack at a massive opportunity, and that is against Tom Aspinall. So I guess we'll see what happens. The unfortunate thing for him, of course, is it's Tom Aspinall. And just quickly, Lazy Bed in the chat likes the RoboCop Sting t-shirt. Appreciate you, Lazy Bed. By the way, guys, if you get a chance, sign up, become a member. Just quickly, Jed, the John Jones Pereira thing, if you're a betting man, that's what's next. It's not going to be. But how do you do that with Tom Aspinall as the champion? Shouldn't it be the champion getting the big fights?
No, it's John. John's doesn't have a belt, so it doesn't matter. Alex can leave his belt and they can fight for the. I said it forever ago. I maintain it. They can fight for some made up GOAT title, the greatest of all time belt, or whatever the shit you want to put on it. I am a firm believer that the UFC White House card should not have, like, traditional title fights on it. I think that it would just make a lot more sense not to, like, have a generic title fight on it. And so you can have some weirdo thing between these two dudes, because I think people don't remember about fighting. They just forget. The purpose of this whole sport is that it's not a sport. The purpose is just to put on things people want to see. And people want to see John Jones fight Alex Pereira. It is the fight that people probably want to see the most that can be made, other than Islam versus Ilya. And so just give the people what they want. It doesn't have to be for a belt. That's fine.
Well, who's Tom going to defend his belt against next? The winner of,
the winner of Almeida Volkov?
Again, Volkov again?
I mean, Volkov should be the dude getting the title fight anyway, instead of Gane, because Volkov beat Gane, or should have beaten Gane. But, like, if Almeida wins, then Almeida's a totally fresh opponent that I'd be actually genuinely interested in.
Gosh, he lost to Tom Aspinall by round one.
Look, but that's not actually a problem for Tom. Tom doesn't have a choice here. That's what being a heavyweight is. He can't drop to 205, so he's just got to defend the belt. And heavyweight sucks, so he's probably going to fight the same dudes multiple times. Honestly, that's fine. Rack up 6 title defenses, dude. Do something nobody's ever done in this weight class and really hold the belt. That would be really cool and awesome. And we talk about it for generations.
I'm just going to quickly bring up, for everybody out there that doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm just going to quickly bring up the heavyweight rankings, and we'll wrap in just a second. But this has to be one of the worst. I'm just looking through these heavyweight rankings. I try to think back to a time that the rankings were this bad. Even before Pride time, when you had Tim Sylvia as the champion, I'm pretty sure you had a few names in that heavyweight division that had more name value than what we've got here. Have a look at this. Obviously, Gane, he's going to be fighting this weekend. Volkov, we've spoken about. Pavlovich, Blades. Like, I like Blades, but obviously there's already history there. Almeida. And then you like Derek Lewis, probably the biggest name value. By the way, Tai Tuivasa, I saw him in the gym in Perth. He's only getting back into action now, but
he's back. He sent a Instagram out. He's back.
Yeah, I saw him, but he's still got a little while till he's ready. Like, that's fair. But anyway, how would you rate this?
It's dire straits. The
There's
heavyweight
nothing
division is in
here.
dire,
Do you
dire
just get
straits.
Gable Stevenson in like after his next fight and just throw him in there? Like, what do you do?
They should have signed Gable already. They should have done Gable what they did with Bo Nickel and have him fight in Contender Series 3 times this year, you know, and just to get him reps. Yeah. Heavyweight division's in a really, really bad place.
Dude, it's crazy. All right, I'll tell you what's not in a bad place. MMA fighting, you guys are doing your BTL, your watch along. What else is happening this week? Part of the coverage of the big event. It's going to be a bit earlier, which is good, right? You guys.
It's going to be a bit earlier, which is interesting. It's, you know, we get one of these a year, so that'll be different. Same story though. Preview, post show, all that jazz. Watch party at Mike Heck's place. We're working on a couple other things. I don't know if they'll come out this week. Maybe in the ensuing weeks, because, you know, we're not that far away from 322 either, Dennis. We got them pretty locked in here with a bunch of stuff coming up down the pipe.
End of the pay-per-view era. They're finishing out on, I want to say a bang, but maybe.
I like the December card, at least on paper right now. It's not great, but it's
once this becomes
fine.
Free, every card's going to be great. Like this card, if it was free this coming weekend, man, we would be pumped about it a lot more, I think. But I think because we've got to pay the crazy money for it and the time difference, that might be a bit of a tough one. There he is, Jed Meshew, one of the best in the game. Get him on the next fight circus in Thailand. I want to see.
Please.
Hey, man, maybe I'll run down and I'll help you out. Who knows? Thailand's.
I would love that.
That's not that far from Melbourne. There he is there. Make sure to follow him, MMA Fighting. That is it for us today. Thanks for joining us, guys. We will catch you next time. That is it for Submission Radio morning after. Have a nice